Hello, I'm VinzerFlinn. Welcome back to the Book of Flynn, where we are going to discuss the double season finale of Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2, episodes 21 and 22, Becoming, parts 1 and 2. And to help me navigate this big undertaking is the evil lit to my Skeletoker. It's Reigna Flynn.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, we're coming in with some light-hearted ending episodes today for our season finale double feature. I have thoughts about this episode, but I actually just kind of sat back and watched it for what it was because it is peak Buffy.
Yeah.
These are more of the iconic. You can see a lot of stuff coming out of this that leaked its way through the Buffy verse and even out into just media in general.
I enjoy these finales because it's almost an anything goes kind of thing. They feel more movie-like in a way because they can, Monster of the Weeks are fun and stuff like that. But when you get to a finale like this, you can, really, that's when the really crazy good stuff happens.
Yeah. I have to say that season 2 is definitely up there for one of my favorite seasons. It has some doozies, but it has some amazing masterpieces like this and, Go Fish and stuff. So they... I'm kidding, but seriously, this episode. And just the way that it weaves together a story and how it's continuing to weave together stories of things to come. And it's just so flawless, you don't even see it. And I just, that's why I think like the first 3 seasons really build towards something that's...
Okay, well, we got a lot of covers, so let's go. Okay, my prediction is someone is going to become something unexpected. Either Angel is going to be restored to his good self or one of the gang is going to become a vampire.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay, we start off in Galway 753 and Angel's doing some monologuing about defining moments of your life. And we're just going to get out of the way, the Irish accent, good try. I don't know.
It's a choice. It's a choice. I mean, I don't know why Irish, and I think because of this show, I never really had a good idea of what the Irish accent was like. And then I got much older and realized I'm from Newfoundland. I should really know what an Irish, especially like a Cork accent, because that's really what you get in the Irish loop, is a lot of that accent. And this was not it.
Before we were recording tonight, I even said to Reina, we don't usually discuss things about the episode until we start recording, but we went to the store and I was like, look, I just want to say one thing, like, why didn't they just let him be English or something? Like Tony Head was there to help him coach the accent. No, let's make Irish. Maybe Joss Whedon's like, I know he can't do a good Irish accent. We'll make him do that.
Yeah, this felt a little bit like career sabotage for David Boreanaz, but he tried his best, gosh darn it, and it's cute because there's actually a little plaque commemorating this scene in Galway, Ireland. You can actually go visit it.
We'll add that to the travel list again. We're going to take a picture and tweet it at him or something.
Yes,
not that
please.
I tweet anything anymore. Fuck Twitter. Anyway, thankfully it's short-lived. So anyway, Angel is mortal in the scene and he's coming out of a pub. My note here says, subjects us to his Irish accent. And then gets his eye caught by a blonde, noble-looking lady and he drunkenly offers himself as an escort. She offers to show him the world and things he's never seen, and he's down with that, and she bites him. So the first thing I thought was she's probably pretty drunk by now, kind of like Nandor, and then we drank the blood of the people. They were on drugs.
And now I am a wizard.
So we get to see how he's turned into a vampire.
What do we think? Did they actually say his name in this scene?
Not that I recall, no.
Oh, interesting. What do we think of human Angel, I guess? I won't say his name right now, but we do come to know his human name.
Just another drunk idiot on the street, I guess. I don't know. He could fit in right in Halifax.
It makes you think what type of human he was to be able to be Angelus and to be one of the most ruthless creatures. Because the quote for me was, with the exception of a hard day's work, there's no challenge I'm not prepared to face.
Did they actually say his mortal name in this episode? If they did, I missed it. Or do we come back to that?
I can't remember, but I do know it. I don't know if we come to learn it like in the next season or like later on or something, but we do eventually learn it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like backstory stuff.
All right, jump to present day. Buffy's kicking some ass in the cemetery, and Angel's lurking nearby and watching. And she seems to be just done waiting around. She wants to take the fight to him, and he's like, take this message to him. And he's like, I'm in the bushes, I can hear you. He keeps himself hidden. She picks Xander up off the ground, who is apparently here. He was like hidden by a gravestone. I didn't know he was there. Yeah, Xander's here too. But Buffy just seems to want her showdown with Angel to be over with. She wants to tear the Band-Aid off finally. But that's enough vampire hunting because it's time to study for finals.
The end of this scene proves that the monologue from Passion is really just him saying all of this out loud, because he's literally talking out loud to himself.
Clearly.
To Buffy, but outside. Like, he must be so annoying to live with, I feel, for Spike and Drew, if this is what he's like at home all the time.
Walking around going...
He's the energy vampire. He's an energy vampire.
I would buy that. But it's not like he's commentating on doing anything useful, like, cleaning the house or anything. He's just, he'd be doubly annoying. So Giles pops by to a sort of a lab place here, and he's going to lend some consultation to some scientists that have dug up a huge monolith of stone with some ancient writing on it. It was dug up outside of town. Put it back.
And Giles is the true voice of reason. He's like, don't open things blindly. Don't do that.
We don't have time for this. Giles finds a seam indicating it's not a solid chunk, but probably a container or a coffin or sarcophagus. And Giles seems a little apprehensive of it. At school, Xander is doing a reenactment of Buffy killing vampires with fish sticks for the gang at lunch. Oz thought it was riveting. And Buffy is still pissed that Angel won't come out for a fight. Willow says she will help Buffy get through her studies if she has to sweat blood. And I'm like, is that some really ham-fisted foreshadowing here? I was a little worried there. But she's still teaching and tutoring, which Cordelia thinks is good, as she will have something to fall back on, unlike Xander, who will have to teach something about loser being. I'm like, this is your boyfriend. Come on. And Xander gets grabby, and Cordelia goes, don't touch me with your fish hands. I was like, are we throwing back to go fish already?
Yes.
That was very... I wonder if he's still got a briny smell about him or something.
He's a little extra salty.
Snyder comes in. He's the fun police. He breaks it up, and he frowns on Willow sitting on Oz's lap. Buffy spars them, and he says, give me a reason to kick you out, Summers. He leaves, and Cordelia calls it a tiny, impotent Nazi. Ouch!
Snyder's busting in this scene like the policeman from Flying Circus. He's like, stop that, stop that.
He did.
Stop that
I saw him coming, but he inserted himself very quickly into the scene.
It's nice to see Oz back. Where the frig have you been, man? Off on tour with your band? Like, what the heck?
They forget to let him out of the fucking box last time there was a full moon or something?
He's just been in the weapons cage this entire time.
Like a week goes by and you're like, oh shit.
Whoops,
He's
sorry
such
about that.
a chill guy. He's like, yeah, it's all right. I did some reading. I could read some books. Giles had an Encyclopedia Britannica in here. I got the S before you let me out, assholes.
S for you suck.
So Buffy's patrolling is cutting into her studying a little bit. Another flashback, London, 1860. I was looking for myself in any cutscenes here, or Merida, is around the right time. And it looks like Drusilla is going to confession at church, but the priest just got eaten by Angel, and it's like a hilarious moment. He's like, oh shit. He's just hilariously caught off guard. But, he says, all right, I'll take your confession. He just kind of jumps into the role. So Drusilla is very distraught. She's seeing again, showing what we sort of already knew, that her precog powers were pre-vampire. So she's obviously got some kind of powers without any of the vampire stuff. She doesn't want to be evil, but Angel tells her she's a devil child and just advises her to be evil and just keeps egging her on. So this is the beginning of him driving her nuts, right?
Yeah, this is when he catches her scent.
So present day, Drusilla returns to the vampire lair, complaining she met an old man on her walk and he got stuck in her teeth. Spike's reading the newspaper. He's still sitting in the wheelchairs, keeping that pretense up. Angel enters and kind of boops him on the back of the head like an asshole. And Drusilla says something terrible is coming. Did you see that in your head? And Spike says, no, you ninny. She read it in the paper. Headline, mysterious obelisk unearthed. It's been whispering to her.
Just so you know, I have always referred to this as Decker's apartment for the entirety of these couple of episodes.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. I guess maybe it's just the power of suggestion, but that did pop into my mind. Just I watch Blade Runner all the time, so I was like, yeah, it's not forgetting that now. So at school, Willow is trying, I put that in caps, trying to tutor Buffy, and a pencil rolls off the table and she comes this close to finding Calendar's special disc. And I was like, come on. But then she has deja vu and she drops the pen and then she finds it. I'm like, well, that's good. So at long last, they find the rite of restoration or the rite of recursing, I guess it should be called. Now, suddenly it's a game changer for Buffy because she's so intent on finally doing away, but suddenly a path opens up to get him back. So now she's like, oh. Another flashback, 1898 in the Romanian woods. Drusilla's laid out. Seems like she's involved in a ritual here. And there's a wise woman chanting a spell. And we're seeing I wasn't really sure what was going on at first. I clued in pretty quick. But we're seeing the curse originally being laid upon Angel. And he's all confused and disoriented. His soul's restored. So it's kind of cool to see that part. Willow and Buffy bring the info about recursing Angel to make him good again. Giles is doubtful, but the ritual requires more info on the black arts than he can claim. But Willow has been studying up, for fun, educational fun, dark arts. But Giles says it may open a door she may not be able to close, and I feel like that's an important comment. But she may be the best person to do it. Xander's take is who cares, and he's got a point that I agree with. Angel should be taking out, and Cordelia agrees with him. Tensions boil over, and Giles, about Jenny Calendar being murdered, and Giles really gets in Xander's face about it, and everyone's shouting. And Xander says Buffy wants to forget all about Calendar's murder so she can get her boyfriend back. The room goes quiet, and Buffy walks out, and I think he hit pretty close to the mark on that one, and I do agree with him that Angel is too dangerous, and he's done too much in this season alone.
Yeah, I hate that I agree with Xander because it's just such a reflex to not.
I know.
But with watching it through as many times as I have, I usually do come down on the side of Xander in this one. I usually come a little closer to Cordelia's point, where she's like, I agree, but it doesn't seem as jealousy driven as it usually does with Xander because of that. We do know that relationship. If we came in this episode and we were just seeing this, like only seeing him with Cordelia during this entire thing, I'd probably give him a bit more leeway. But since we know he has a history of jealousy, that's just where I tend to go. So it gets gross tinged. But I would agree that he should be restored because he is a force of good. But I also would think, you need to leave. It's like, you can get restored, so you are a force for good, but get out, go elsewhere, do something else, get away from Buffy, because obviously you guys bring out the worst in each other, I guess is the easiest way to say that.
Yeah, even as a good guy, his potential for harm is still pretty high. Even it's like having a superpowered person on your side, but there's a chance that, any moment something could go wrong, and yeah.
Dealing with Dr. Jekyll versus Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, exactly. So the lead scientist who is studying the obelisk, I know he was listed in the credits, and I recognize this guy. He was in a ton of stuff in the 80s. Or the 90s, probably the 80s, but he's got a distinctive voice, and I do like this guy. So he's studying the obelisk and working late, and he hears strange whispers, but then he gets vamped by Drusilla. So, so long, buddy. And Buffy's on the phone with Willow, and apparently Willow calls Xander something so cutting we don't get to hear it. Willow, where did you learn that word?
What word do we think she said?
I had a lot of ideas, but I can't picture Willow saying any of them. Buffy remains conflicted, more so when she finds the Clawder ring in her drawer, like a bad memory. Yesterday she was ready to get staken, but now there's a chance. She's out on patrol, and Slayer Kendra has returned and pops out to say hello. Buffy, let me guess. Your watcher said a dark power is rising in Sunnydale. Kendra, yeah, that's about it. It's good to see her pop out. I like Kendra.
Yeah, I like her too.
At the vampire lair, Angel and his goons have moved the obelisk to their lair, and I would have enjoyed seeing them try to move that thing with, in a U-Haul. Pivot! Don't drop it.
Trying to get those down those stairs, and then you've got And then you've got them trying to beat the sunlight back. Like, sun rising, guys. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
You know, he created this latest batch of vampire goons to help move that fucking thing. So, well, I'm not moving that. I'm going to go down to the bar and, vamp out 4 or 5 guys. Ironically, they were probably a moving crew that was done for the day.
He probably ate a moving crew, you're right.
Brought you all guys off for the day. They'll do. Okay, Angel gives a history lesson about the demon, and I believe it's a Cathla? Was I hearing that right?
A Cathla, yeah.
Decathlon, got it. He's going to come forth and swallow the world. He was killed by a virtuous knight who pierced his heart with a blessed sword. So the demon turned to stone and was buried, only unearthed because they're building low-end housing in the suburbs. I like that. There's nothing they'll screw up, ancient, things like urban sprawl. They crack it open and it looks like one of the gargoyles from the cartoon. Still sword embedded in it. It's like they found Goliath.
Spike really owns it in this scene. He has the quote of the episode for me. He's like, "Oh, wish my friends had a rock, bet my friends wish they had a rock this big."
Spike steals every scene. He's great.
It's true.
At the library, the gang finds out the obelisk has been stolen. The curate has been murdered by vampires. And the info from Kendra's Watcher backs up that it is what Angel said about a demon who's going to suck the whole world into hell, quite literally. Buffy wants Willow to try out the recurse spell, but Kendra agrees with Xander that Angel needs to be taken out. Buffy thinks of it as a backup plan and still plans to fight and, if necessary, kill Angel. Kendra has a blessed sword, their silver bullet, as it were.
I know that she usually, sneaks her way on and off planes, but how did she get this through customs?
Listen, it was the 90s. I once, went across, we're going to get to a thing about the Greyhound bus later, believe me, but I went over border of the Greyhound several times pre 9/11, and they didn't check shit. Nothing. I could have smuggled a fucking dinosaur across the border. They wouldn't have been any wiser. So Willow needs a little time to work on the spell, and an orb of Thessala. Am I getting that name right?
Yeah,
I know why you're chuckling, because Giles has one, and he's been using it as a paperweight.
Which is exactly what the shopkeeper said that they're usually sold as. It was such a nice little throwback.
Yeah, I like it. That's what you would use it for. You got a nice big stone that's not being used for magic purposes. You got a paperweight. Willow will not have time to tutor Buffy for the final, but maybe if hell swallows everything, she won't have to take the final, unless that means she'll be taking it forever. Now in the vampire lair, Drusilla almost catches Spike out of his chair, but he's like, ooh, and he runs back and sits down. I love you all. This is like Angel getting caught in the confession booth. So the goons draw in some guy who Angel bites as he prepares to ascend. I'm not really sure how this is all going to work, but it does all become clear. Another flashback to Manhattan, 1996. Now I really am looking for myself in the background because I did pass through New York about this time in the 90s. I'm not even joking. So Angel's wandering the alleys, lost and ragged. He's hunting rats. This was a very sort of Anne Rice vampire thing where, Louis didn't want to kill, so he's out in the muck hunting fucking animals and stuff. Reminded me of that. So enter this fellow in a leather coat and hat who seems to know all about his curse, and his name is Whistler, or it is lately. And despite being, very friendly, he openly admits he's a demon, but hey, he's not a bad guy. And he wants to help Angel become something more, but Angel wants to stay in his 90-year rut, as I wrote. Whistler wants him to see something, then Angel can decide for himself. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because flash to Los Angeles, same year, 96. A beat-up car with blackout windows drives up to Buffy's old school, where she's behaving much more like someone named Buffy.
Would this ever get near a car? Would this car ever get near an actual school? I'm sorry. If a car with blacked out windows rolled up towards a school,
oh yeah,
no,
not sus at all. I like how there's just tiny little fucking area to see out of it. It's just still painted black. I can't believe it's the first time we're seeing this car. It won't be the last in this episode.
Nope. So
a guy in a suit says, and I recognize the actor, you must come with me, your destiny awaits. And he flat out calls her the chosen one, only you can stop the vampires. And Buffy's like, huh? So and a little later it shows her fighting vampires in a cemetery, and she's looking quite tentative and unsure of herself, but she does stake a vampire. And this is interesting because it's almost like a rollover retcon of the movie kind of thing. And Angel's watching all of this. So was the guy with the mustache supposed to be like Donald Sutherland?
That's Merrick, yeah.
Yeah?
And he retains the name of Merrick in this timeline as well.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yep.
All right. So Angel says he wants to help her and wants to become someone when he's speaking with Whistler. And Whistler's motives they never really become clear to me, and I'm hoping this is something we come back to. But he's an interesting wild card introduced into the mix here. Now, at the vampire lair, present day, Angel tries to remove the sword from the demon statue, but it rejects him as unworthy, fucking Excalibur sword style. Spike just kind of chuckles quietly. So Angel says they're going to do what they always do in the situation, get the help of an old friend.
Someone wasn't worthy.
See, Spike skills every scene.
It's true.
At school, finals are being written. This is crazy, this part. A hooded vampire walks straight into the classroom and issues a challenge to Buffy to come to the graveyard at sundown or more people are going to die. Then she just immolates in front of the whole classroom. This is such an overt display here.
This stunt woman is named Cindy Fulkerson, and she's been set on fire more times than any other stunt woman in Hollywood as of 1998.
Holy shit. That's a claim to fame.
She specialized in pyrotechnic stunts. She was in Naked Gun 2.5, Clue, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, Tales from the Crypt, which I thought was an interesting credit, Red Dawn, and Broken Arrow.
Wow.
Yep, she was a stunt woman in Red Dawn.
I've seen most of those movies. Buffy is going to go while Willow works on the recurse. She's going alone for some reason, but Kendra gives her her lucky steak, which she has named Mr. Pointy, a name I have definitely heard before and which replica you have on your shelf. And this is funny because I didn't even think of Mr. Pointy until this, but I always was aware of it, but it never occurred to me about when she named it or how she got it, but now that question has been answered.
I actually had that here to see if you recognize that this is the one that I carved for the cosplay.
Well, yeah, you nailed it because it looks like it. So Angel and Buffy meet at the graveyard. Said she had to show after the immolation-ogram. Angel wanted to say goodbye. Buffy, this is a beautiful moment we're having. Can we please fight? And they do. They start to fight. Meanwhile, Willow and Giles are working the spells as Cordelia helps and Xander just sort of stands around watching. But just then, some vampire goons attack them in the library, and Willow gets smashed under a bookcase and gets knocked out. And Giles and Kendra, they're throwing down, man. And Xander gets his arm hurt. There's just a total melee. Punches getting thrown. As Angel and Buffy are fighting, he says, "Is it just me or is your heart not in this? Maybe I'll just go home and destroy the world." But you never learned this wasn't about you. And then Buffy realizes she's been had and she runs off. Drusilla appears in the library and Kendra fights her, and Drusilla uses a vampire power which we haven't seen much use of in the show yet, and it's often forgot about with vampires, the hypnotism where they glamour their victims. And she slashes Kendra's throat. It just kills her, and they get what they came for, which was Giles.
This is the first time that we've seen Drew at her full strength. Because we've never seen her fight before, and it's actually shocking to see somebody who's usually seen as so delicate go at it with Kendra. And I have a theory that she never tried this with Buffy because this would never work on Buffy, this hypnotism. There needs to be a certain level of malleability, and you have to be susceptible to mind control. Like, even hypnotists today say that there's some people who just can't be hypnotized because they're too strong-willed. Kendra's downfall of being raised by her watcher and being molded made her really susceptible to this. So, unfortunately, it goes to show their earlier point when they were first butting heads that Buffy would win in the end because her will and her emotions and her attachments to this earth make her stronger than the average Slayer.
Yeah, makes total sense. So long, Kendra. And Buffy returns to the school, but she arrives too late. Kendra's dead. And we're back to one Slayer unless by some incredible loophole another gets activated, which I would not put past the writers at this point. And this first episode just ends with a gun in the shot and someone going freeze. And I'm like, oh, now there's a cop in Sunnydale.
This entrance to the school, her coat is probably one of the most iconic scenes in Buffy the entire series. I want this jacket. If you ever find this fabric, just let me know. I'd like to get this made. But we also learn in this scene that Whistler, speaking over this is where Angel learned how to narrate and how he learned to be season one cryptic boy is from this guy.
All right, so we go straight into the second part, which is the cops drag Buffy off. Xander's knocked out on the floor, but this whole thing it's got a tone of serious now. Especially when the cop puts the gun on her, I'm like, oh, shit's kind of getting real now. We're kind of up through the looking glass finally, into a little bit of realism here.
Yeah.
Snyder's here as the cops try to arrest Buffy, and then she's like, I don't have time for this, and she fucking lays the cop out. Now, adding, assaulting an officer to the charge, resisting arrest, and all that. But she wants to check on her friends. But she still finds time to call Snyder a stupid little troll. The other cop shoots at her and calls it in. And I'm like, oh, now she's got all that to deal with. I know it's nighttime or whatever, but, she's still shooting in the school to catch teenagers. It still seems a little over the top to me.
An unarmed teenager who's running away, you're going to shoot at her, and not even like a leg shot or a knee shot. Like, she shot at head level. So great job, crack operation you got going on there, guys. Jeez.
There's going to be a quote by Snyder later that's going to come into play. You'll probably know what it is.
Yep, I think I have it already.
Buffy sneaks into the hospital, finds Xander on his feet, and he's okay other than his arm being in a cast. And the cops are here looking around for her. Willow is unconscious and in bed with head trauma, and like I said, shit's starting to feel serious. Her parents are in Phoenix, and they're on their way home. Oz doesn't know yet, because apparently he's still locked in the fucking room somewhere. But Xander's going to give him a call.
Xander completely forgot. He completely forgot him.
Yeah, I was surprised he wasn't there as much as he should have been for these episodes, but whatever. So Cordelia enters. She's in one piece. She said she just ran. She wasn't very brave, but Buffy's like, that was the right thing to do. And this is when they realize Giles is not accounted for. So Giles wakes up in the vampire lair, and Angel and all his goons are around him and the demon statue, and he wants Giles' help to awaken it. So now the cops are at Buffy's house talking to Joyce, and this taking on this tone of serious now. Like, the cops are at the house looking for her. This is getting more real life flavor. Buffy goes to Giles' house, but encounters Whistler instead. She says, if you got info for me, cool. If not, I'm going to wear your ribcage as a hat. What's funny is that this guy he's such a New Yorker, the way he talks and stuff. And I knew a guy in the mid-'90s who's this hilarious Italian dude, and he wore a leather hat and a leather coat, and he talked the same way Whistler does, and all I could think of was my friend from the 90s. So Whistler says it wasn't supposed to go down like this. Angel wasn't meant to release the demon, and him turning evil again was never a part of whatever Whistler was up to. So I'm really questioning, like, what's your game, Whistler? Like, what, you're supposed to be an evil demon or whatever, but it's almost like you're a good guy. What's going on here?
My question is, if it wasn't Angel or Angelus who was supposed to release Akathla, if it was supposed to be Angel there, who was supposed to originally release Akathla?
Yeah.
Because I don't see anybody else vie in for this. Like, Spike wouldn't have done it.
No, and that's the point we're gonna get to too. It seems like there's a couple pieces missing out of the puzzle somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, Whistler's some kind of a wild card, and I'm interested in his motives. Buffy leaves, and a cop cruiser finds her and tries to arrest her, but Spike steps in and knocks the cop out. Buffy attacks Spike, but he's not there to fight. He's actually there to help her. Tells her he wants to stop Angel and save the world, and that Angel has Giles. Spike doesn't want to destroy the world. Why would he want to when there's Manchester United and billions of people walking around like Happy Meals with legs? Spike likes the world. Happy Meals with legs got me. Yeah. I like how Spike steals the cop's cigarettes and he lights a smoke on screen, which you saw a lot more in the 90s. I'm like, this is a terrible message to send to the children. He's just there smoking away. Spike just wants Drew back, and they exchange a couple friendly punches to the face. Buffy calls Drusilla a hoe, a couple more face punches, but then they call a truce and just they're going to work together.
He's like, hold up, let me go kill this cop. And she's like, seriously?
Old habits. Now, Xander and Cordelia are at Willow's bedside of the hospital, and Xander doesn't want to leave her side. He's pretty broken up. She's his best friend. He says he loves her, and that's when her hand moves. And of course, that's when Oz shows up. So Willow comes around and says, "My head feels big. Is it big?" Oz, "No, it's head-sized," and just totally on par for their exchanges.
They're so cute.
They really are. So Angel's continuing to work Giles over, but he remains defiant.
He's cleaning his glasses for him.
Yeah.
He's like sitting in the chair. He's like, here, let me clean your glasses.
In the street, Buffy and Spike are walking along, kind of side-eyeing each other. This is an uneasy truce, to say the least. And Joyce rolls up in her Jeep Grand Cherokee. And, I was like, where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. And Spike's like, what, your mom doesn't know? And then they, on the spot, concoct an in the band kind of story. And I play the triangle drums.
Well, what do you do? Well, I sing.
Well, I sing. So at their house, a vampire attacks, vamp face and all, and Buffy stakes it, which Joyce sees. And I'm like, is she finally about to be read in?
And the penny drops.
Mom, I'm a vampire slayer. So, Willow is on the mend. Her brain seems in good shape. Oz brings her Jell-O. She's on the phone with Buffy as Spike and Joyce sit in the living room in the most awkward silence.
This scene is perfection. I don't even care. It's my favorite.
Yeah, the awkward silence between Joyce and Spike is it's absolute gold. He's like looking at the ceiling and shit. But it means that he got invited into the house, so I had to make a note of that. Joyce says, have we met? Spike, you hit me with an axe. So do you live here in town? Buffy wants Drusilla staked for killing Kendra, which Spike is kind of proud of that Drew actually took out a Slayer. He's like, oh, good for her. But he didn't know about it. She didn't mention it. But he says no deal without Drusilla. He just wants shit back to normal with her, and he will take her out of the country. But if Giles dies, she does. That's the deal. Joyce with the line, have you tried not being a Slayer?
This whole thing is very, gay coded. Have you tried not being gay?
Joyce wants to call the cops, but Buffy stops her. And the truth is out now, and Joyce is having a hard time coming to terms with it. And she tries to stop Buffy leaving, but Buffy shoves her aside. Joyce says, if you walk out of this house, don't come back. And I was like, I didn't think she'd say that. That's something these Gen X kids used to hear all the time, which is fucked.
Yeah, Buffy is a Gen X kid.
It's true, yeah.
So what do you think of the exchange in the scene? Who, do you see both of their points, or what? Is there someone you're kind of siding a bit more with?
Well, obviously, I see that Joyce doesn't know everything that's going on. She only just found out, so her shock is understandable, as is the wanting to protect her kid. Whereas Buffy, she's got to go do what she's got to do, and Joyce is a lot farther back on the track of understanding everything that's going on than everyone else. So I'm not really on anyone's side. The only thing I don't like is that she said, "Don't come back." She should have said, "I know you're upset, but Buffy was going to run out of the house no matter what," and Joyce was just kind of stuck dealing with that. But there has to have been a better way to go about all of this than to say, if you go out that door, don't come back. It's a shitty ultimatum in any circumstance, Again, it was something that felt very real in a fantasy show.
Yeah, when Buffy said, have another drink, and then Joyce ends up throwing it, even little me watching that for the first time didn't like Buffy when she said that, because she felt like it felt very dismissive of Joyce's feelings. Like, Joyce is reeling right now. She is high. Her brain is just chugging, trying to catch up. She just met a vampire. The guy she hit with an axe was just sitting in her living room. They're talking idly about killing her ex-boyfriend, who's a college student, as far as Joyce knows. And I was a little bit more with Joyce for this, even when I was younger. This isn't as I became a parent, I started seeing more of her side of things. But when she lost me when she said, don't come back if she leaves. Children never forget that. No matter what age you say it at, children will never forget that. That is a fundamental scar that you can lay upon your child. So I understand the rest of Buffy's actions pertaining to this comment. I understand it and I get it. And in the same position, I probably would have done the same thing.
I know more than a few Gen Xers who have been on the receiving end of that statement. And in fact, I think one of them did not go back ever. And another thing I think Gen X kids would find triggering is the throwing of something across a room, throwing the glass in anger. That's something, I don't know. I just feel like that's something 80s kids understand. They've seen it somewhere. Just that sort of, I don't know, frustrated, angry violence before I don't know, we learned to fucking get in touch with ourselves. I don't know.
Allowed to accept our emotions instead of having to fight them off.
there's some triggering stuff in that scene. It just, like I said, it felt very real. If you didn't know there was all this vampire stuff going on, it would just look like this fucking awful domestic bullshit. So yeah, some of it was pretty hard to watch.
Yeah.
But anyway, I predicted this would happen at some point, is that Joyce was going to have her eyes open to what was going on. I feel like we're going to get to how it plays out towards the end of the episode, but I feel like with enough time to process it, she would have got on the team, so to speak. But in the moment, she's just worried about her kid, and things just got ugly. They just straight up got ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back at the hospital, Willow wants to try the spell again. Xander thinks it's a bad idea, but she's determined, despite Cordelia saying how flat it made her hair look. You can always count on Cordelia. So Cordelia and Oz go to retrieve her spell things, and she tells Xander with her resolve face to go talk to Buffy. And again, I think Willow would make a great watcher because she's doing a hell of a job organizing the team from her hospital bed.
And I would love to hear Cordelia's version of recapping this for Oz on the vehicle on the way over. I wish we got that scene. Oh. That is the scene I wanted. Like, just to hear this from Cordelia's view.
And he would have just taken it all in stride. He probably went, huh. Like he did before.
All right.
Every time he finds out stuff like this, and I think he even did it in this scene, he's just like, yeah, that is filling in some blanks. Like he's always the last guy to know everything, but he takes it in stride.
Yeah.
At the vampire lair, Giles seems like he's breaking under Angel's pressure, but then he tells Angel to perform the ritual he must wear a tutu and calls him a pillock. And I'm like, attaboy, Giles. Spike enters in the wheelchair as Angel calls for a chainsaw, calls Spike sit and spin.
Ugh. So over Angelus.
Spike says there are other ways, and I don't want to spend a month trying to get Librarian out of the carpet. And he calls Drusilla in. Buffy goes to the library, and there's this morbid outline of Kendra on the floor, like, a chalk outline kind of thing. Snyder walks in. She thinks the police will figure out she didn't do it. Snyder, in case you haven't noticed, the police of Sunnydale are deeply stupid. Then the moment comes at last. Snyder expels Buffy, to which she just replies, "You never got a single date in high school, did you?" And he's like, "What's your point?"
He doesn't even deny it.
No.
He's like, and?
And Buffy brushes past him with the sword, which he kind of gets out of the way of, and then he pulls out his 90s cell phone and he says, "Tell the mayor I have good news." Another little tantalizing thing, which we just they never get enough with these little bits. You're like, well, what does that mean? Now Drusilla, she's hovering around Giles, and the makeup on him, he looks like hammered shit. Like, he looks rough.
In the Watcher's Guide that I use for like fun facts and little additives, it said that to add authenticity to his torture scenes, Tony Head would put chopped up bits of peppers into his mouth before each take. So that's how he was maintaining that like look of torture. And I saved that little tidbit until this scene because I really hope Juliet Landau, who plays Drew, loved peppers.
What an acting challenge. Tony's breath, oh my god.
Anyone got some milk?
I thought you were going to say he went out and got hammered so he's hungover while he was filming. And like, oh my god. I would not have been any better in the breath department. So Drusilla looks into Giles' eyes and just looking at. I always think of the little Britain, the hitting this thing. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Don't look around the eyes. Don't look around the eyes. You're under. But she does the trick thing with him and hypnotizes him and get into his head. And she makes him see Jenny Calendar. And I'm like, oh, that's a dirty trick. And she uses that image to break him down. And he says they need to get Angel away from the demon. His blood is the key. So, accidentally gives him the answer. Angel and Spike confer, and Drusilla's still making out with Giles. Apparently she got caught in the moment. And I was like, what we were just saying, if he's got pepper breath and they're even doing a stage kiss, she's got to be dying.
But I would get carried away too, Juliet. I get it. Tony Head is just a marvelous human.
I'm completely straight and boring, but I think even I might do. I wouldn't have been in a...
Right? Like, who wouldn't? Raise your hand if you wouldn't.
Again, that's funny because another little Britain scene, bit applies where, he was the prime minister and his aide, Sebastian's completely fucking in love with him. Buffy returns to Giles' house to talk to Whistler, they're like going through his freezer. And now she also learns how Angel's blood is the key to releasing the demon. What did Whistler say here? Something about going through an Englishman's freezer is like...
Fridge?
What was the line?
Going to a nunnery, you'll never find the good stuff or something like that.
Little demon humor.
Yeah.
Buffy says she's got nothing left to lose, and at this point, she's almost right. A lot is falling apart in her life very quickly.
Yep.
Dawn breaks and Buffy heads to the lair. Xander jumps out from where he's been hiding in a bush. I like how his parents don't even seem to give a fuck where he is all night. More that he's injured. And who paid for that hospital bill, by the way? I mean, it's not like America had, socialized healthcare in the 90s any more than they do now. They just got a bill for $70,000. What's this broken wrist? What the fuck?
Maybe he did it himself, because you never see him being discharged or talk to a doctor or even wear a hospital bracelet. Like, he could have went and just been like, all right, let's get the first aid kit out of the office after the police are done.
I'd believe it. The shit, I mean, we rip on Xander a lot, but the stuff he's been through at this point, fixing his own broken wrist doesn't seem like that big a deal. All right, Buffy hands Xander a stake, and his job is to get out with Giles and run for it. And he relays a message from Willow. Kick his ass.
What do we think of his decision here to withhold what Willow's actually doing?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really take note of it at the time, but you're right, he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. He was supposed to relay that she was attempting it again, and instead he makes the decision to withhold that information and just says kick his ass.
You're right. It sort of got past me.
A lot of people are mad at Xander for this call, and eventually I am. Not this episode, though. I believe that he made the right call. I feel like if he had told her, it would have split her focus, and the fight might not have gone the way that it did.
I agree.
She needed to fight with all of her emphasis behind her. So as much as a lot of people hate on Xander, I'm with him on this one. She needed her focus unified to get this done. So I back it so that, because I mean, yeah, he knows that the plan is still happening. So if he does get recursed before he opens a Cathla, then Buffy will stop and it'll be a nice little surprise for her.
Yeah, there was too much at stake, honestly, and I do agree with his decision.
Yeah.
Angel reattempts the ritual. At the same time, Willow is restarting hers. I'm like, oh, who's gonna finish first?
Race of the rituals.
Buffy slides in and decapitates a goon with the blessed sword, very metal move, and confronts them. Spike makes his move. He gets out of the chair and he starts fucking wailing on Angel in the back, and a complete melee ensues. Drusilla actually jumps on Spike, which I was a little surprised by. Xander comes in and lands a punch with his cast arm, actually rewound it. I'm like, what's he doing punching people out? Now, yeah, his cast is still... I was like, was it a mistake? Was his cast off? Nope, cast was still on. Spike, I don't want to hurt you, and punches Drusilla out, but I will.
Oh. I love how he treats the people he loves in his life.
Right? Xander finds Giles, but Giles doesn't think he's real. Why would they make you see me? You're right, let's go. That was good.
Even Xander understands. He goes, I'm not going to be the person they're going to let you see right now, guys.
Yeah.
If anything, I'll add to the torture.
Angel pulls the sword from the demon, completing the ritual as Willow struggles to finish hers. Buffy and Angel have a good old-fashioned sword fight here, and they both sell it pretty good. Really good fight choreography, and they both killed it. Well done to them.
This is one of my favorite fight scenes in the series.
Yeah.
This whole sword fight sequence is beautiful. However, David's stunt double in the remastered version has much less sticky uppy hair than David Boreanaz does, and it is very distracting when they swing back and forth between the two of them, because it's like his hair's going like this. It's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up.
Like Samurai Cop when his hair and his wigs move.
Yes.
A little noticeable. Oh, by the way, if anyone else loves the Samurai Cop riff, do yourself a favor. Don't watch the second and third ones they made. In more recent years, they're basically softcore porns. Stick to the first one. Anyway, Willow has definitely unlock something dark and magical by doing this spell, and I'm like, this is going to come back around. We'll deal with that later, but I'm just making a note of it now.
Yeah, something definitely seemed to pass through her for a few minutes in this episode.
Yeah. Spike renders Drusilla unconscious, and it almost seems like he's going to stop to help Buffy, but he leaves anyway.
Spike chokes out, which means cutting off the air supply of the undead vampire.
Well, I don't know. I think cutting off the blood supply to the brain is what knocks you out, right? So, but I was wondering about that. Either way, I just skip past it.
But if her heart's not pumping, then there's no blood moving. Anyway, let's not figure out physics in this world right now and how biochemistry works in vampires.
I just had a 1,000-yard stare there trying to process. Never mind.
All the calculations are showing up on the screen.
Angel gets the better of Buffy in the fight, and she goes down, and he tries to stab her like right through the face, and she closes her eyes, and she stops it with her clapped hands together like a fucking Snake Eyes maneuver.
Power move!
Totally. Spike makes good his escape in the blackout window car, so he stole Angel's car on top of everything. He's got Drusilla in there with him. And it's funny because James Marster, he's really reefing on that wheel like he's pulling some hard turns, and I'm like, he's got this little peephole to look out of.
This is his vehicle, so they've done this to multiple vehicles. This is a different car than the one that Angel was in the earlier in the episode.
I just assumed it was the same car. That's even funnier.
Yeah.
I thought you meant it was James Marster's car, and I'm like, why has he got this piece of shit? This is his first car or something. We need a car. I got my car. Buffy's kicking the shit out of Angel as Willow finishes her spell, and he comes back to himself. It works, and Angel is recursed, so he's his old self again. And me, fuck, kill him anyway. Buffy seems quick to accept it, that he's a good guy again, but I would have been at least a little more hesitant, like it was a ploy, like maybe it was a trick to throw her off.
I would agree, except there were tears, and Angelus was never able to fake that level of sincerity with anything because he had no soul, he had no emotion. So I understand her willingness to believe it.
Okay, yeah, I buy that.
Yeah.
The demon statue starts waking up, and he starts creating his hell vortex as they make out. I thought we were done with this. No, we're getting a little last minute smacking in, for fuck's sake.
I know how you missed the smacking. I made a note of it.
I'm like, the portal is like 6 feet across now. Maybe stop making out. Christ. So she makes the decision. She knows what she's going to have to do. She runs him through. And I saw it coming, but I'm still a little amazed she actually did it. Like, again, her resolve is unfuckable with.
Did you see the mirroring of earlier in beginning of Becoming Part 1 when Angel is first made a vampire? She mirrors Darla's words because Darla tells him to close his eyes. And then she kills him. And then as Buffy kisses him, she unknowingly mirrors Darla's words by saying, close your eyes, and then she kills him.
Right, okay. He gets stabbed and he gets sucked into the vortex and it closes. Cue the sad 90s music.
Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah, that very 90s. So Buffy wins, saves the world, but she's expelled, wanted for murder, and I guess homeless, so yay. Joyce finds a letter in Buffy's room, but we don't get to see what it says, at least not yet. The gang is back together at school. Willow and Giles are recovering. Everyone just looks beat up, like they just look ragged.
I wonder what people are saying about them at school. Like, what the hell are they doing?
It probably is completely overshadowed by, the girl who caught on fire in the classroom, I imagine. And, Buffy being wanted for murder has probably gotten around too, right? So anyone with, Xander with a cast on, I probably wouldn't even think about it. I probably think Giles has a drinking problem. Jeez, look at him. He's got the shit eyes. Pepper breath.
Shit eyes and pepper breath.
So no one has heard from Buffy. They don't know how it turned out, other than the world is still intact, so I guess they won. But other than that, they don't know shit. Buffy is watching them from nearby, kind of like Angel was watching her from the trees, kind of a little parallel there. But she walks off in the other direction, and definitely not part of the ending I envisioned is her in the wind going who knows where. There's no happy ending for Buffy here at all. And my last note is when she leaves and I recognize the interior of this fucking bus immediately, I can attest to the surrealness of going anywhere on a Greyhound in the 90s, especially if it's a multi-day trip. Absolute hell.
This could have been even the bus you were on like the day before. Who knows?
Did a strange man in Dayton, Ohio try to sell her his pants? Maybe.
The ending of this episode, right at the end, after the credits, do you ever watch to the little mutant enemy thing at the end? That's the production company sign.
I know what you mean, but I almost never know. What did I miss? Did I miss a stinger?
It changes. Instead of he's going grr arg as he goes across the street, he goes, I need a hug.
Yeah. That's very valid.
It only happens a few times throughout the series, and this is one of them.
Okay, yeah, I definitely know what the mutant enemy thing is for sure.
Yeah.
So, conclusion. It was a tidy wrap-up for the season and to a few arcs, and yet with many questions going forward. I'm genuinely curious as to how Angel returns, because he obviously does. He's trapped in some kind of hell dimension now. I mean, the guy gets his own spin-off show. He's got to come back, unless he's got a fucking twin brother or something. Genuinely want to know where Buffy is going and what's next for her. Also curious as to Willow's future with magic, because she's obviously a powerful conduit for that sort of thing. Everyone's battered and beat up, no doubt a little more changed and not for the better. So like even the Scooby gang, they all seem a little more weathered now. Where are Spike and Drusilla going? What's next for them? How is Drusilla going to react to everything when she wakes up? Some other, loose ends, like the whole Snyder knowing about the Hellmouth thing. What to do with the mayor? Like how does all... Infuriatingly not enough answers on that score. And did anybody bother to call Kendra's watcher? I guess Charles probably took care of that, after a day or so. But yeah, just a lot happened. But yeah, just the end. It ends in a bit of a, Empire Strikes Back down note. The hero loses everything, and now she's not even got her friends, and she's just on a fucking Greyhound to wherever.
Yeah, it was a really heavy season finale in comparison to season 1. I mean, sure, she died in season 1, but somehow this seems heavier.
Yeah, more real. There's a lot more real, raw, ragged edge stuff.
Yeah, I think it's because like Buffy has been trying to have the two lives separate. Like she's been trying to have her high school life, she's been trying to have her childhood, her teenage years, her boyfriends and her gossip and all that sort of stuff. She's been trying to have her cake and eat it too, but unfortunately, everything's just starting to bleed over and it's not going well. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how they continue on after this season, where they go.
And I have no idea what's coming in season 3, so I am really genuinely really looking forward to season 3 now, which, I mean, obviously, despite all the lip smacking and the puns, I am still on this project for season 3, absolutely, 100%. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad that puns aren't taking you off this project, because bad news.
Well, I mean, we've been together almost 8 years now, and it hasn't driven me off yet, so I think you're probably safe.
Woohoo!
The positive thing I take out of it is that I enjoy that Spike's back on his feet. I'm dying to know what happens to them next. But yeah, it's I just want to see. I think my vague prediction going into season 3 is Buffy seems the only thing she's got left for her is being the Slayer. So obviously the Giles is probably going to find out through whoever else. The news is going to turn up of someone killing vampires in some other city, or like they're going to find her. I have no doubt of that. How she gets back to the town, I have no idea, but I can't wait to find out.
Do you have any other predictions for season 3?
Well, hopefully we learn more about Snyder's connection to all, the knowledge of the Hellmouth and stuff. I feel like there's some kind of grand conspiracy going on there. That's not really a prediction. It's more of I want to fucking know what's going on there. But yeah, I kind of thought maybe towards the end of the season, maybe Snyder would almost become if not an ally, less of an adversary. But he's not. Right to the end, he's a prick. He expels her. He takes away one of the pillars of her already tipsy life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, no rather really specific predictions other than I feel like, Angel's going to have to get out of that dimension. What's he going to be like when he gets out of it? He's probably going to be fucked up. And yeah, it's an interesting turning point for all the dynamics really got turned on their heads. So like I said, the biggest surprise for me was, I figured Buffy'd win in the end and it would cost her, but it's cost her everything, like she's on a fucking bus to who knows where. And
yeah. Like, you didn't think that her mom finding out would mean she suddenly is kicked out of her house.
Yeah. I feel like Joyce is going to regret that, or she probably already is, because she's going to be like, where's my kid? Her family's just in tatters now. So I think she's probably kicking herself for saying that don't come back thing, which is not something you should ever say to your kid. I mean, no. You can't take that shit back. So yeah, cheerful finale. But really well done.
I feel like the show went through puberty this season. Like, it started off quite juvenile and hokey, and then all of a sudden it turned into like a pure CW melodrama with a lot of fighting and action and just like high stakes and real consequences, and it just really rooted itself. And I think that it really solidified itself in its own world. Like it was just kind of like thwomp there. Now it feels like reality.
Yeah.
Have fun, guys.
That moment really clicked in for me when at the end of the first episode where the cop was like, freeze. And I'm like, yeah, now it's feeling way more real. And it just got realer as you went. Realer and uglier. Yeah. Which is a sad thing, like, but the realer it gets, the uglier it gets.
Yeah. You're like, stop. No, she's had enough.
I long for the days of Go Fish, which seems so long ago, and it was just the last episode. Where's Wentworth Miller sliding around in his frogman suit?
I wish we just saw him like slide through the background at one point.
Just whimsical days.
She's trying to run from the cops, and you just see him slide through the background, and like they're luging down the hallway.
But it's like obviously Wentworth Miller's voice. Wee.
That was fun.
Let's do it again.
I could talk about Wentworth Miller all night. So, anyways.
Yeah, honestly. You know what would have been a really great ending to this show is if Buffy was walking down the road and got a drive from two brothers in a black Impala.
Oh man, that would be so sweet.
That would be the ultimate.
That would be the crossover I wished I could see. You never know. With the show being rebooted, you might see them pop up somewhere.
Oh my god, I would die. That would be so good.
Just Castiel. I would settle for Castiel just having a quick cameo in the background where he looks like he's lost and then he just pops out again. Just something.
Yeah, something where the brothers are driving the car down the road and there's some reason they can't pick up a hitchhiker. And they go by and it's just Sarah Michelle Gellar with a thumb out. Jerks. That would do. Well, all right. Well, that's it. I think next episode we're going to do maybe an Andor chat session because there's all kinds of good stuff to talk about there. But we're done seasons 2 of Clone Wars and Buffy. But I am totally down to do seasons 3.
Me too. Go Clone Wars, go. Dun, 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 dun.